Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Punaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadidamastu Ma Vitvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Have you ever felt as if you were finally healing and moving forward, only to suddenly find yourself revisiting an old fear, emotion, or problem once again? Many people think this means they are failing or going backwards on the path. But what if healing does not happen in a straight line? What if healing happens in layers, in cycles, even in spirals? In today's episode, we will explore why revisiting old emotions and old situations may actually be a sign of deeper healing taking place, and what Reiki and spiritual practice can teach us about patience, compassion, and transformation over time. So welcome to today's episode. I'm your host, Alexandra Savitri Amba, director of the American Reiki Academy and the Vedic Healing Center. I'm a Reiki master, Vedic healing master, and spiritual guide who has practiced and taught spiritual self-development and healing for more than 35 years, led pilgrimages to India, and studied with blessed Indian gurus. In this show, we cover topics related to metaphysics, Reiki, Vedic healing, yoga, manifestation, spiritual growth, and feng shui based upon my studies and work in these disciplines. The aim of this show is to help you awaken, develop, and tap into your spiritual power in order for you to live well, manifest your dreams, and ultimately fulfill your unique divine destiny. So welcome again. And today I wanted to talk about something I think many people struggle with on the healing path, and that is a feeling of, I thought I already healed this. In other words, I thought I moved past this issue or this struggle or this problem. Why is it coming up again? And I want to say something very clearly right as we start this episode, and that is that healing is rarely linear. So in my experience, real, true healing, and that's what we want. We want healing with depth, does not happen the way we think it's going to happen. Instead, it happens in layers, in maybe spirals, in cycles. However you want to imagine this is fine. So think of a visual that works for you, but not a straight line. We unfortunately think it's going to be a straight line. So if we just keep going, we're going to achieve that destination and be free of that issue or that circumstance or that obstacle or that problem. But instead, we often end up revisiting these things that are troubling us, that are challenging us, let's say. But that does not mean you are failing. Sometimes it means you're ready to encounter this issue, this obstacle, this problem from a deeper level of awareness, from a higher level, from really an expanded space. So many of us were taught, or somehow we thought it was going to be this way, that healing would be a straight line. So you do the spiritual practice, you meditate, you receive healing, and you have an insight, and then suddenly everything is resolved. But I often tell people when I'm working with them that these issues we're working on do not usually unfold that way. Instead, it's like peeling back the skin of an onion. And that's not a very lovely analogy, but when you think of the onion, you think of all the layers there. So we also are layered. That's what I mean. And nothing wrong with an onion. An onion can be beautiful in its own way. But when we say onion, we usually think of the strong smell of an onion. But think of what the onion looks like and all the layers. So our emotions are layered. Our nervous systems are layered. Our conditioning is layered. Even our spiritual awakening, and especially our spiritual awakening, I would say, unfolds in layers, or it transpires in layers. One of the things that I guess Reiki taught me very early on also is that healing can be subtle, very subtle. Sometimes people expect dramatic transformation overnight, and certainly there are moments of breakthrough, but often Reiki and all healing work works quietly, gently, almost like water kind of reshaping a stone. You know, if we think of a stone in a creek, the water travels over it and gently, slowly starts to shape that stone over time. And this is why you may not notice the shifts immediately, but one day you realize you are reacting differently. You are breathing differently. You are responding differently. You are holding yourself differently in maybe a situation that before would have been quite troubling to you. I heard someone say it recently, it was in one of my coaching sessions. She said, I feel like I'm doing all this work on myself, and I'm chanting and I'm praying and I'm meditating, I'm doing yoga, I'm doing Reiki, and yet I still have negative thoughts. So what's wrong? And I said to her, nothing is wrong. What is perfectly right is that you are living in a body. And while you are in this body, you are going to be encountering the mind. And one of the nuances of the mind is these negative thoughts. But as you progress on your path, you will find in time that you develop mastery over your mind. So either the negative thoughts don't come as quickly, don't occur as quickly, or they cease for a long time, and you think, wow, I've conquered that negativity inside. Or you start to feel as if the time spent in your practice is so valuable that you become able to bypass those thoughts. So it's almost like they don't matter anymore. You recognize, you become the witness, and you recognize that you are outside of those thoughts. So this is how healing occurs. This is the growth that's occurring. You're noticing shifts in your energy field. You're noticing shifts maybe gradually, or what's sometimes interesting is a teacher of yours points those out to you. And that's why it's very important to work with a teacher, because the teacher will be able to see your growth and understand what you need and be available to help you, to guide you. I've had the beautiful fortune of working with some very incredible teachers this lifetime, and I am extremely grateful to them. And I know on many occasions, especially with my Reiki master, who was so dear to me, I would remember her saying to me, "Do you know how far you've come?" And I could be obsessing over something and troubled by something, and I'd say, oh, what do you mean? And she'd say, "No, do you remember when you used to?" And then she would fill in the blank. And she'd say, "Look at how far you've come." And so this is so beautiful, because having a teacher enables you to take stock of your own growth that's often you don't see yourself. So yes, perhaps one day you will realize you are reacting differently, but often it takes another person to point it out to you. And you will notice that something has softened, something has opened up in you, something has become smoother or more peaceful or more balanced. And this cumulative change matters very much. So today, when I was preparing for this, I often, as I've said before, I get ideas in meditation for what I want to speak about, and I often will just write down 3 or 4 words, and then this transpires from there. So what I wrote today, I want to read it to you. It's only 5 words, and it is: healing is cumulative, layered, and nuanced. So I have seen many people become discouraged on the healing path. Again, this is how I kind of started this episode, because they feel old emotions, old conditions, old challenges are either returning or resurfacing, or that they haven't made any progress. But this is absolutely false, because as long as you are aware of the issues, you have made progress, because awareness is the first indication that you are on a healing journey. That means you have identified something in your system, in your energy field, in your path, in your personality, in your life experience that you wish to work on. And this is beautiful self-awareness. But when these things come up and you feel discouraged, you feel sad, you feel fearful, self-doubt, you feel a lot of grief, and the mind starts to say things like, "Oh no, I've made no progress. Oh no, I'm back at the beginning." Are you? Or are you simply meeting and encountering the next layer of your self-development? This is a very different thing. So imagine you're, let's say, climbing a staircase. Maybe it's a spiral staircase. And from above, you're looking down and you say, "Oh, she's just circling the same place. She's just going in circles. What is she doing?" But in reality, you're gaining height every time. So your perspective changes, your awareness changes, your capacity changes, and healing feels very much like this. I just thought of this. I heard a spiritual teacher say once, and I'm trying to remember the exact words. She said something like this, that I can't remember the beginning of it, but something like, when you're on a conscious spiritual journey, you keep going through things, but you go through them at a higher level. So that's what I would really like to impress upon you. You can revisit familiar emotions, familiar obstacles, familiar problems, but with more awareness, with more consciousness, with more compassion, with more balance, with more breath, with more space, with more kindness for yourself. And this is growth. This is spiritual growth. And you know, the world we live in pushes us towards instant gratification, and that translates into instant transformation. We think we need a quick fix, very fast manifestation, immediate breakthroughs. And while transformation can absolutely happen quickly at times, and there have been many times in my classes or my own life where perhaps I've been speaking about manifesting something, and that thing occurs quickly. This is so fun and so magical, but just know that deep healing asks for presence. It asks for patience, gentleness, consistency. It also asks for courage. I want you to be, or I'd like to suggest that you be extremely courageous and extremely steadfast in tackling or encountering the issues that you feel you want to overcome this lifetime. I want to recommend that you consider deep healing is asking for you to be gentle with yourself. There's no force in healing. There's no punishment. There's no blame. There's no shame. There's no, oh my gosh, I should have already accomplished this. Oh my gosh, I should have healed this issue. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Oh my gosh, why is everybody else at a higher level than I am with whatever nonsense you're dreaming up that you should have created by now? So healing is not you trying to fix anything. It's you trying to, and let's not even say trying, it's you having the courage to examine situations, tendencies, conditions in your own life, and then making the conscious decision to move through these things, to take them on. You know, in the Gita, Krishna comes to Arjuna, who's on the battlefield, and Arjuna has broken down. He is feeling overwhelmed, upset, exhausted. And Krishna does not shame him for his sensitivity or for his overwhelm. Instead, he gently guides him towards deeper awareness, helping him see beyond what's immediately in front of him. So sometimes we have pain and confusion and upset and all sorts of things in front of us. And what happens is, with healing, you are being asked to see beyond what's in front of you and not to suppress what you feel, but instead to come into contact with it with greater consciousness, with greater compassion. Sometimes the deepest healing happens quietly, in the way you view yourself, in the way you speak to yourself, in the moment you trust your intuition. And this is one of the things I've maybe learned for myself over the years, that sometimes, here's an example, sometimes I will interact in a situation and I will notice that I'm interacting more slowly, more deliberately than I ever have. And I will also acknowledge myself, because I'll say, I acted according to my intuition, and I acted, how can I say this? I followed my intuitive voice in the way, in the best way I knew in that moment. I heard it. I just thought of another phrase from a teacher I heard ages ago, and he said, at every moment, people, something like this, so I'm paraphrasing, everyone is doing the best they can, and when they know more, they will do better. So maybe that will help in some way. It will give you some compassion with yourself. You are only operating right now at the level of healing and awareness that you have accumulated, you have gone through up until now. And as you keep going, you develop more awareness, more growth. And so we acknowledge ourselves at every stage of life. We notice our own growth. And again, sometimes we are lucky enough to have a teacher point out our growth. And we also have teachers to help us see where we still need to work on ourselves. And this is another beautiful nuance of having a teacher. So in many ways, healing is asking the same thing of us that occurred between Krishna and Arjuna. We are being asked not to suppress what we feel, not to push it to the side, but to encounter all of life, to be brave enough to encounter all of life. And again, to notice that deep healing that's happening in yourself, in the way you speak to yourself, in the way you look at yourself in the mirror. You know, for women, this is often a very, very challenging thing to look into the mirror. And especially as we start to age, we can become very self-critical. But notice how you're interacting with yourself, how you're honoring yourself, how you're honoring your growth, how you're honoring your body, how you're honoring your being. And I want to suggest that you stop fighting or pushing against your own sensitivity. Instead, regard your sensitivity as a blessing. So I would say for many spiritually sensitive people, part of healing is learning that this sensitivity is a superpower. It's not a failure in any way. Feeling deeply, being an empath, is a beautiful experience. And needing, let's say, listening to your system, knowing when you need rest, moving slowly, spending a lot of time alone, being affected by other people's energy. This is not a failure. This is sensitivity. And this is beautiful. These these ideas are doorways into greater awareness, greater compassion, greater connection with your intuition. And this is one reason I believe Reiki becomes such a profound doorway for people, because Reiki teaches us, it's a quiet, gentle and powerful modality, and it teaches us to listen deeply, to become soft, to become aware of subtle shifts, to allow energy to move rather than constantly forcing outcomes. It's a very feminine modality. And over time, all of these subtle shifts accumulate. So if today, as you listen to this, in your life, you are finding yourself revisiting a problem, an obstacle, a struggle that you feel that you have, that has come up over and over in your lifetime. Maybe old emotions are surfacing and you feel discouraged and a part of you wonders whether you are failing. I want to gently remind you, you probably are not going backwards at all. You are probably moving through another layer of healing. And again, you can think of the circular staircase, if that helps you, and just imagine you're circling at a higher level. And perhaps this time you are encountering and meeting that situation, that obstacle, that problem with much more awareness than you did before. And this is very significant. This matters very much. It is an indication of your own growth, of your own progress, of your own beautiful transformation that is occurring really in every second of every day. So the last thing I want to say is, please do not think for one moment that any yoga asana, any conscious breathing, any mantra, any laying on of a hand position in Reiki, any moments spent in meditation are detracting from your life. Instead, they are enhancing every aspect of your life and, in fact, improving your life. And what's more than your life, they are expanding and improving your, what is the word? I'm going to have to think of it. Your growth, I guess, on a soul level. Because if we think of things beyond this lifetime, all of these spiritual practices that maybe the world, not the whole world, but much of the world feels are an extracurricular activity. But to a healer, to a yoga practitioner, to a sadhak, these are actually the point, or they help you get to the point of existence. These are essential to our growth. These are not extracurricular. It's not like we do all our work and, if we have a little time, we'll do a little meditation. No, the spiritual practitioner is fitting their life in around their spiritual growth, because she knows that spiritual growth ultimately represents the end point of being here. And again, the end point, we think of that line, there isn't really an end. It is, again, that spiraling upwards, outwards. It's an expansive journey that we are on. And all of the work you are doing on yourself, your healing work, your self-growth work, your work in sadhana, in spiritual practice, is helping you as a soul evolve and grow and expand and ultimately return to, and I always say this, return to your divine essence, that light within you that shines forever, never goes out, never goes away, never falters, is with you from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. And so making that light as bright as possible is your duty. There is nothing else. There is nothing else. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Om Sai Ram. Jai Guruji. Om Amriteshwariye Namaha. Hare Krishna. Om Namah Shivaya.